You may have heard this song before. It's called Come Together, or at the very least, you may have heard of the band that plays this song. They're called the Beatles. I'm going to be talking about this group, but more specifically, how this group connects to the date June 15th. This is important to me because I was born on June 15th, and after doing some research about my birthday, I was surprised to find out that this legacy was born years before I was born, but on the same day. I'm going to explain the events that went down on my birthday that are related to the Beatles throughout history. I will start with when Paul McCartney and John Lennon met for the first time on my birthday in 1956. Then I will jump forward into 1968 when John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono planted a peace acorn at Coventry Cathedral. Lastly, I will explain the death of Wes Montgomery that happened on the same day as the planting of the acorn and how it also connects to the Beatles. First, I will explain how the iconic band got its start by explaining the day Paul McCartney and John Lennon met. According to a site called Scopespies.com that records what happens every day in history, John Lennon and Paul McCartney met on my birthday on June 15th, 1956. After doing further research, I stumbled upon an article called When John Met Paul, A Day That Changed the Course of History that was published July 6, 2021. It stated that John Lennon and Paul McCartney met at a church in Liverpool. Lennon was on stage playing with a group while McCartney was in the audience watching. The same source contends that later on that day, Lennon taught McCartney a few chords on his guitar and they bonded immediately. Since this date, June 15, 1956, John Lennon and Paul McCartney created a group that has changed the music industry. And although the group no longer exists, they have over 200 songs published, some of which you will still hear on the radio today. Now that we know about the Beatles, let's talk about how they impacted the world outside of music. According to the same source used before that records dates in history, Scopespies.com, over a century later, Lennon and McCartney met. Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, hosted an event that sent a message to world leaders. A lot of people know about the Beatles' part in peacemaking, but they do not know exactly what they did. According to an article published July 3, 2013 in Vogue, Ono asked her husband to plant an acorn in Coventry Cathedral on June 15, 1968. A lot of people thought this represented peace in their relationship, but later they found out the truth. According to the same source, a year later, Ono and Lennon sent acorns to world leaders with an explanation of their symbol for world peace. The world leaders reacted differently. Some were very thankful and some were very confused. However, this shows that the band and their spouses were deeply involved with the idea of world peace. However, during this act of peace, a very unpeaceful event was happening to a cover artist of the Beatles. The same day that Lennon and Ono were planting a seed to represent peace, a jazz cover artist was pronounced dead on June 15, 1968. According to an article posted on a site called Black Past on August 31, 2010, Montgomery, also known as Wes, was a very popular jazz guitarist who became very popular in the South after joining a trio group. Montgomery was known for taking popular artists and making their music a bit more groovy by adding jazz guitar. The Beatles were a very popular band that he covered, his most famous cover being a jazz style of A Day in the Life, a very popular song by the Beatles. This same article explains that Wes Montgomery was pronounced dead on June 15, 1968 from a heart attack. This means that as Lennon and Ono were beginning a revolution of peaceful life, Montgomery's life was coming to an end. Now that you know a little more about the legendary group, the Beatles, let's review the impact they created. The Beatles members, John Lennon and Paul McCartney, met on June 15, 1956. Over a century later, John Lennon and his wife sent a message of their desire to have world peace. On the same day, June 15, 1968, an avid cover artist of the Beatles died of a heart attack. So now the next time you hear a song by the Beatles, remember the date, June 15th, and how their legacy started that day.